Welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. This is a bi-weekly podcast that talks about all things real estate with a splash of real-life topics. So tune in and let's keep it real. All right. Hello and welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. I'm Mike Tohikian, and I have a great guest today. We have Beth Azor. I'm going to say the AKA the Canvassing Queen, who's on my show. So I'm very excited for that. How are you, Beth?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'm doing well. A little bit of background about Beth. She graduated from Florida State University and a past chairwoman of the board there. And she is the author of 2 books detailing her experience in the real estate world and her secret sauce for success, of which one is Don't Say No for the Prospect, and the other is The Retail Leasing Playbook. And Beth is the founder and CEO of Azor Advisory Services, which is a leading commercial real estate advisory and investment firm based in Weston, Florida. So welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
That's great. How's it going out there on the East Coast?
Well, Miami is hot, hot, hot. Winter might be coming, but not to Miami, Mike.
I've been there a few times and it's amazing how beautiful it is. And you just forget that you're still in the United States of America and the people are nice. You're always in vacation mode. So I don't know how you guys get work done over there.
We never go to the beach.
Stay away from the beach.
Yeah, we don't go to the beach. We work like everyone else. And yeah, I don't think I've been to the beach in the last 12 months. Unfortunately, wow. I should make time to go, but we don't.
Oh, good. Well, I hope you do make some time. Can you give the listeners a little bit of background on how you got into real estate and, some info on, or some background info on Azor Advisory Services?
Sure. So I got my license when I was 18 because my parents were in residential, and that's what, most people do when their parents are in residential. So during college, summer during college, I got my license. And then when I graduated from FSU, I got a great job at a local not-for-profit, the American Heart Association, but I was making Mike a whopping $11,000. So that's like in today's money, 30. So I couldn't live on that. So I did real estate on the weekends. I sat model homes for a residential developer. I did that for 2 years straight. And I started making more money in the residential than I was making in my not-for-profit job. So I gave up the not-for-profit job and went into residential full-time. And immediately I did not like it. It was fine on the weekends to supplement my income, but doing it full-time, I was sitting in a trailer reading People magazines, waiting for people to walk in. And I said, I went from working 7 days a week to this. I hated it. And someone said, you should get into commercial real estate. And I said, commercial, that's selling land. That's more boring than this. And she said, no. There's this thing where people develop shopping centers and they put grocery stores in them. And then leasing agents go and fill the vacancies around the grocery store. And so you put in the local bagel guy and the insurance office and the dry cleaner. And those families love you and you're invited to every wedding, bar mitzvah, communion because you help them achieve their American dream. And I said, sold. Where do I sign up for that? And I joined a company in Miami. I was there 18 years and I left there and I grew from the rookie training department through to I was the president the last 6 years I was there. Wow. And then I helped grow the company from 11 people to 150. Wow. But in 2004, I was a single mom of a 4-year-old and my nanny was raising him because I was so busy working all the time. So I decided to take a break and kind of semi-retire just because I didn't want to have a kid at 40 and not be a good mom. Right. So I left the big corporate trappings of this big company and I said, well, I guess I'll start, Azor Advisory Services. And then I wanted to start buying shopping centers for my own account because I had been limited partners in a bunch of deals before, but I wanted to go be a general partner and be the sponsor. Right. So I did that. And then I also started coaching and training. Companies would call me like REITs around the country and said, you've been training leasing agents, for the last 18 years at your other company. Why don't you come train leasing agents for us? And so that's kind of a side hustle that I have now is coaching and training.
How many shopping centers do you guys own and how much GLA do you guys have?
I have 6 shopping centers and the value is about 110 million. And I always tell my kids, when my youngest was little, he'd go to school. My mom owns that shopping center. I go, well, I own a blade of grass in the shopping center because really the banks own the shopping center.
That's right.
Right. The banks and the partners. So I have, but the value of the 6 of them are about 110 million and they're all within 10 minutes of my house.
Oh, okay. So they're all in that specific region. What area is that?
It's called Davie, which is a suburb of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay, great. And are they all grocery anchored or?
No, none of them. So one that I sold 3 months ago, when I bought it, it was 100% leased and it was not a grocery anchored center, but I knew I could make it a grocery anchored center. I ended up doing a deal with Aldi. So I bought that one at an 8 3/4 cap rate and we sold it 3 months ago at a 6. So that was great. The rest of them are all small. I think the largest one I have is 45,000 square feet. And then they go all the way down to, I built a Starbucks strip center with 3 tenants, Starbucks and 2 others. And that's only 6,400 square feet.
Wow. And is the strategy mostly a value add play for you guys and your LPs, or are you guys looking for a different strategy?
So my strategy is to find the older the owner who's owned it for 20, 30 years, is in their 80s and is starting to be thinking about estate planning and has been very, very happy having their shopping center be 100% leased, probably no mortgage, cash flowing great, but doesn't understand that the centers on either side of them, the rents are $15 to $20 higher. So I will buy fully leased shopping centers as long as I believe that they are under market. So my value add is a rent growth, not necessarily, and possibly a re-tenanting. I've done facade renovations, right? I've taken centers that were 18 to 20 bucks and my last deal was 60, triple net.
Wow. So this is interesting to me. How did you go from broker to, let's say, a syndicator, and how was that leap for you?
Yeah,
on the mindset.
So I was with my other company, and I started there in 86. And in 1988, my boss came to me and said, "We're going to buy a shopping center. Do you want to put any money in?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." And he's like, "Okay." And I had started, I had money in the 401k, started investing in stocks. I was married at the time. And then in 1990, he came to me and he said, and that shopping center did really well. Everyone that bought it did great. So there was the example that was success. He comes to me in 1990, do you want to put money in the shopping center we're going to buy? And I'm like, and this time I wanted to do it. I wasn't afraid of the risk, but I didn't have any money. And I said, "No, I don't have any money." And he said, "What do you mean you don't have any money? You're making like 75,000. Your husband's making 75,000. I go, "Well, we don't have any money." So then in 1992, he comes to me the third time. And he said, "Well, now you're making over 100. Your husband's making over 100. You certainly have money. You need to invest in this one." And I said, "I don't have any money." And he was very mad at me. And he goes, "What are you doing with your money?" I go, "Well, that Jaguar out in the parking lot. And we just got back from the first class trip to Hawaii." And he goes, "You are an idiot." And he said, "I'm going to take you to a bank and I'm going to co-sign a $50,000 note for you on one condition, that you, from every commission from this point forward, you put 20% off the top in an investment account." And I said, okay, I'll do that. And he co-signed the note. I invested the 50, and 4 months later, I had raised a bunch of the rents because I was the leasing agent. We refied the deal, and I paid the bank off the 50, and then I think I did 8 more deals with him before I left the company. So He was the catalyst because he, helped me with the cash and then insisted that I be disciplined with, saving. And then, so after I had done 8 with him, when I left and went on my own, I was ready to GP one by myself. And the first one that I did was a 1.77 acre piece of land that I was going to do 2 ground leases. It was $1.2 million. I think I raised 600, probably 3 people at 100 and then the rest at 50, friends and family. And we got a loan and we were going to do 2 ground leases. In the end, I did a ground lease with Walgreens and flipped it to a developer. And that group of people, we made 399% on our money in 18 months.
Wow.
That was my first deal. So a lot of those people
that's
are
a great first deal.
It's a great. It had many roller coaster moments.
Right.
throughout the deal. Like, it was a great first deal to have because just the brain damage and the things that went wrong. But in the end, we all made a lot of money. I didn't know about 1031 exchanges, so we all just paid our taxes.
Yeah.
But from then on, most of those people that invested with me in that deal are still investing with me today.
Right. I mean, with that kind of track record, they're not leaving your side probably.
But we've had some deals that have not had that track record also. So, but they still stick it out with me. Real estate is risky. So you win some, you lose some.
How about your mindset after you had that talk with your old boss, right? And then you transitioned and did your first GP. Were you looking back to still do brokerage, or were you just like, I'm going to go all in on this GP route and finish there?
Yeah. When I left the other company and I opened up Azor Advisory, the plan was to never do any more third party. I stopped doing tenant rep years earlier. So my plan was and I had built up a nice little nest egg, and my focus was on my son. And my goal was to buy one deal every 2 years. And then this consulting thing came out of nowhere, which I didn't anticipate. So that was the plan. Now, I did get a call from a guy that had 37 acres in Miami. And I said, I went to the pitch because I competed with a guy that used to work for me. And I said, you don't really need me. 37 acres in Miami. It's going to be a Costco, a Walmart, or a Home Depot. And I'll just give you the brokers' names and numbers. You can just call direct. And there was a family, and they loved that. So I got a call the next day that I was hired because they couldn't believe that I was just going to do that. So that was in 2005. So we ended up putting Walmart under contract 3 weeks later, literally. And then they were under contract from, I think, 2007 till 2009, dropped the contract in the global financial crisis.
Right.
They left a big, sizable deposit that they had gone hard on. My client got that. But they dropped the deal. And so my client's like, should I rezone it to industrial? I said, no. Walmart will be back. Just let's get through this problem. And then I think 11 or 12, Walmart came back and they said, well, instead of 37 acres, we want the site, but we only want 20. And my client said, I'll do that, but you have to stay and help me develop the 17 acres. And I'm like, okay. So that to this day, we're still finishing.
Wow.
We're finishing right now. We signed last year we saved the out parcel for last. And we signed 4 ground leases last year. We did a Ross Dress for Less, a Didi's, and we have 8,000 square feet of inline left to lease. And that's really my only third-party client as far as commission-based. I'm doing a consulting assignment with Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavs, in Cleveland, Ohio. They hired me last year to lease a 17% anchored mall in Cleveland, and we've signed 52 leases, and we're up to 51%. So I don't consider it brokerage because I'm not getting any commissions. It's a flat monthly fee.
Got it.
But it's a third-party assignment.
Okay. So let's segue into that because, they do call you the canvassing queen. Let's see how we got that title. And I want to definitely talk about the one video that I loved watching, which was Never Ask for the Owner. So why don't we give everybody a little background on the canvassing queen, and then let's talk about that little pitch.
Sure. So I ran a large team at my prior company. I think at the height, we had 14 leasing agents, and we did all of the third-party work for life insurance companies and pension funds. And I was raised to believe that how we lease vacancies is that we are proactive and we canvass, because who is the best tenant to fit a retail vacancy? Someone that has another location. How do you find them? You go to their other locations, because store owners are not taking phone calls. And when we're talking about canvassing, we're talking about local tenants. Right. If I do a Ross Dress for Less or a Starbucks, I'm calling their broker, I'm calling their corporate headquarters. That's cold calling. But canvassing is literally going up and down a street, going into every store and asking if they want additional locations. I really am not looking for someone to move across the street into my center. I want someone that's got 3 locations, 4 locations, and I'm their 5th or 6th.
Got it.
And so I've done that my whole career, and I used to preach it all the time. And someone in our South Florida community like snarkily said, "Oh, there she is, the canvassing queen." And I went, "Oh, I like that," and I trademarked it. So now, when it came up, it was not in a positive note,
right?
But turned that sucker around. So that's why I'm the canvassing queen. And this project I'm working on in Cleveland, I knew not, so I love it because people have said, "Well, of course you're successful. You've been doing leasing in South Florida for 36 years. You own all of the project. You own a bunch of shopping centers. You know everyone, So going to Cleveland at the age of 62 last year, where I knew not one person. And I think my latest numbers from my last trip, because I go once a month for 4 days, I have visited 2,171 businesses, Mike. I have shown space to 194 tenants, and we've signed 52 leases. Wow. And I physically have gone into those businesses, and I've also reached out to those businesses via Instagram and Facebook direct message. So while I'm here in Florida, I'm saying, okay, I still haven't gotten the barbershop that I want to come in the mall. So I Google barbershops in Cleveland. There's 80 of them. And I will DM them on Instagram and Facebook. Hey, are you interested in a location downtown, at Tower City, which is the name of the project? I will get, if I DM 10 people, I'll get 3 responses. 2 will be not interested. 1 will say, where is it? So 10% of the DMs, I get a positive response. And so while I'm here in Florida, I'm prepping for my trip. So I'm direct messaging through social media. Then when I go to Cleveland, I go see all those people that have said yes. That's like day 1.
Right.
And then I usually have a bunch of showings day 2. And then day 3, I go back out and go see all the barbers that did not even respond. And a lot of times I did a huge bridal salon deal, 17,000 square feet. I had gone to her location, dropped off a flyer, DM'd her, dropped off a flyer, DM'd her. 6 months later, dropped off a flyer, DM'd her. And then one day I'm at her store and there she is. And I meet her and she goes, "Oh, my lease is up next month." We signed a lease in 5 weeks with her. She went from 10,000 to 17,000. And I said, "Did you get my flyers and my DMs?" And she goes, "I didn't get any flyers, and I got the DMs, but I thought it was a scam." So, no matter how many flyers and how many DMs, you still got to try to connect with the owner. So why do I tell people don't ask for the owner? Because, in sales 101 lesson is get to the decision maker. So when you walk into a store and there's someone at the counter, let's say it's a UPS store, and you walk up to the guy and he's standing at the corner, or the gal, if you say, "Is the owner here?" and they are not the owner, you've just disrespected them. If you say, "Is the owner here?" and they are the owner, that person's like, "Well, why doesn't she think I'm the owner?" It's a lose-lose-lose question. Right. So what I always preach is you walk in, I don't care if the person's 11 years old. "Hi, I own shopping centers in the area. What are your expansion plans?" Most of the time they go, "What?" I go, "I own shopping centers. You know that Dick's Sporting Goods down the street?" "Oh, yes." Or, in the next town over. "Oh, yeah, I shop there." "Okay, great. So there's vacancies in there, and I would love to have a UPS store. Do you know if you guys want to open additional locations?" And now the person is like, "Oh, well, she thinks I'm the owner." So then they go, "Well, I'm not really the owner." I go, "Oh, okay, no problem. So who should I talk to?" And they go, "Well, let me give the owner's cell phone number." I mean, 95% of the time I get the contact information.
The gatekeepers are key in the sense in every sales aspect. And it's the same thing when we're doing the real estate. I think you can't pass that gatekeeper especially if you're going to disrespect them.
Well, I have an assistant that I've had. She's my director of operations. She's been with me since 2004, so 18 years. And I have vendors that call the office all the time, roof vendors, electricians, engineers. And they always, is Beth Azor there? And she knows they're in sales. I would never interview a roofer. She is the person that interviews those people. And she is the one that says, "Okay, I like this one." But they never ask. They just want the owner. And the owner has nothing to do with that.
I had one question for you on, like, let's say a leasing agent who's just coming in, or someone who's even seasoned. What's a good amount of time you think they should spend on canvassing?
That's a good question. I was just telling someone about that this morning. So when I was just leasing, so I had, 7 shopping centers that I was just leasing. That was my sole job. So if there's someone out there that's their sole job, they don't tenant rep, they just lease shopping centers. I was doing 50 a day easy, sometimes up to 80 a day. I was, going to the office around 8, doing LOIs, paperwork, maybe sending some follow-up emails, proposals. Then I would hit the streets right when stores open around 10. I would always have lunch somewhere I was trying to prospect. And then I would get back to the office around 4 and do another couple hours of returning phone calls, looking at LOIs, maybe trying to negotiate leases. So I had 3 to 4 hours in the office, and then 4 to 5 hours outside of the office every day. And maybe one day I just took off to try to catch up on anything I didn't do. So that was when that was my job. Today, I do a lot of things. I have a deal in Cleveland. I own 6 shopping centers. I consult, I train. I still, Mike, every week, come hell or high water, unless I'm traveling, canvas every Tuesday from 1 to 4. Wow. Now, and my goal is 30 business cards or 3 hours, whichever comes first.
Okay.
That's a good goal. So I fill shopping centers with my leasing. I learn about markets, but I'm really looking for acquisitions now when I'm canvassing. I learn like whose rents, what are they paying, and people say to me when I'm canvassing, no, we don't want your market, but we want this market. And then when I'm canvassing that, we want this market, this market, this market. And I hear one market from 20 tenants, I go to that market and I start looking for something to buy.
Wow, that's smart. I like that. So with these tips that you're giving, what characteristics make for a good leasing agent, in your opinion? Because it's not built for everybody. For
sure. So you got to have fire in the belly. You have to want to do it. It's not easy to get rejected, 45 out of 50 times a day.
Yeah.
So if you don't have fire in the belly, it's not going to work. And I've been with people that, no, I really want to do it. And like, okay, let's go canvassing. Oh, can we go tomorrow? Like, no, like go do something else. Right.
Yeah.
And they need to be organized because they need to keep good notes on the prospects that you're cultivating, and work on your CRM and have good time management. And, of course, you have to be a very good listener, because sales today is not about persuading someone and talking someone into the sale. You're not going to talk anyone into a sale. Sales is about asking good questions, listening to the answers, and see if your product matches their need. I've been in places where they're like, oh, I would love to be in your shopping center. I can only afford to pay X. Not a good match. I need Y. You can only pay X. Let me refer you to my friends down the street. Their rent's cheaper, and maybe you can do something with them. So you need to be a good listener, and you need to, try to not be afraid of rejection, and you need to be persistent. All those things you have to have.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's not built for everyone. You're right. And I think that fire in the belly, you're going to get rejected. In real estate in general, you're going to lose more deals than you do. You have to come in prepared for that. But if you're persistent at it and you keep that attitude going, I think you'll be successful if you keep trying.
For sure.
You gave us the tip of never asking for the owner. Can we get one more tip for canvassing? And then, we could wrap up about, real estate and move on to some more interesting topics.
Just do it, right? You just don't let a week go by that you don't do it. Again, everyone listening, I have so much going on in my life, and I still do it every week. That's how important it is. And I've been doing it for 36 years. And I have a portfolio worth over $100 million. And I'm still prospecting, canvassing in the field every week, not on the phone. Like, that tip it's everything, because I know people that, yes, I'm going to do it. And then I'll call them 3 weeks later. How was canvassing this week? Oh, I didn't go. Well, how was it last week? Oh, I didn't go. And there's a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
So, if you don't want to canvass, then the other option is to be a tenant rep broker. Tenant rep brokers, where you represent the tenant. I don't particularly like tenant rep because I think you're working for free. because the retailers at any time can say, I've decided I'm not going to open those 5 stores, and you've spent all that time. But I have a lot of good friends that represent Costco and Home Depot and TJ Maxx, and they love it, and they're not interested in canvassing. So, it's, different strokes for different folks. Yeah. So if you find that you hate canvassing and you just can't get yourself motivated to do it, then an opportunity or an option for you is tenant rep.
Just like you, I was pounding the pavement, constant. I would also get out here in LA, I don't know how it is in Florida, but we had these, and the majority of these shopping centers were in, primarily Hispanic demographic areas. So there would be like this little Hispanic newsletter with all the different businesses, all their addresses. So I'd use that, and I'd, build my little shopping center and say, okay, I'm going to talk to this, and this, and, I'd go out and go do it. So I think, if you want to get into it, it's not built for everyone, but if you are persistent, you'll be very successful. I mean, look at you, you're a GP now, and you have a huge portfolio, but you're still canvassing. So I admire that a lot.
Thank you. My son just moved to LA, Mike.
Hey, have him give me a call anytime. What is he doing out here?
He is a rapper.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
And he works for Spotify.
Okay.
And he manages a house of YouTubers.
No way. Wow.
In Encino. He lives in Encino.
Oh, he's very close to me.
He's living the dream. He's living the dream.
That's a whole other podcast we could get. Well, great. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you getting on. This next segment that we have is where my daughter has some pre-recorded questions, and we get to know you a little bit more on the personal level. All right. Here's Alessandra Wants to Know.
What are some of your hobbies?
Oh, Alessandro, my hobbies are, I love going to the movies. I love watching film. I like foreign film, independent film, or Marvel, or, Spider-Man. I love movies. I love to read. I love nature. So I take my dog for a walk for probably 4 miles, 5 times a week out in the nature of South Florida. So those are my hobbies.
That's awesome. All right, here we go for the next question.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
So Florida State Seminoles and the LA Rams are my 2 favorite sports teams. All right,
here we go. LA Rams. That's good. How'd you end up loving the Rams?
So my son, who lives in LA, when he was 11, he played a toy game that I can't remember the name of it. I think it was maybe Bakugan. I'm not sure, but it had the horoscope in it, and his favorite character of this toy game, it was like spinning tops, was a ram, was the horoscope sign of the ram. Uh-huh. And he said to his father, Dad, where can I find rams in the United States? And his father said, in St. Louis. It's a football team. And he goes, in fact, they're playing the Giants tonight. And they went into overtime, and it was the first football game that my son ever shown interest in watching with his father. And he's a diehard Rams fan. Diehard. And he's been that way. I mean, I have lived through the tears, obviously the jubilation last year,
yes,
winning the Super Bowl, and then the tanking of the team this year. Yeah. He went to 5, because he's been in LA so much before the move, preparing. He went to 5 games this year, every game they lost.
Oh, all right. He's banned from going to games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been banned because every game I've gone in the last 7 years, we've lost. So I'm definitely banned. And now, but he just told me yesterday that he was on the phone with SoFi talking about season tickets last night.
That's a cool story of how he got into liking the Rams. Let's hear her next question.
What is your favorite food?
Oh, I love potato chips and onion dip.
Wow, that's great. Very specific. I love it.
Chips and dip would probably be the night before, that night before you die meal. Chips and dip.
Can I get my chips and dip, please? That's awesome. All right, let's hear her last question.
If you can live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Kauai, Hawaii.
Nice. That was very quick. So you have that in mind.
Yeah, I'm figuring out a way to retire there. I love it there.
Have you been there multiple times?
5 times.
5 times. And I'm
going again in December.
Wow. Yeah, that's, at least you're climate prepared. Your body will adapt immediately. So that's exactly amazing. Well,
Yep.
Beth, I really appreciate you coming on, and it was great to know you and meet you. So I appreciate that. And what's the best way for some of our guests to reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure. It's on any social media channel. BethAzor.com is my website. You mentioned YouTube. I have over 300 free videos. I'm having an event in March for women investors. I'm trying to get women to invest in commercial real estate. I found out that since I started, where there was no women in commercial real estate, we are now up to 36% of women working in the field. Mm-hmm. But when I checked into how many investors are women investing in commercial real estate, it's 3%, Mike.
Wow.
And of the 3%, 1.5% are inheritance or spouses. So people like me that did not inherit and don't have a spouse, it's 1.5%. So I'm 62. So I have a mission that by 70, I'm going to get that number to 10%. So I'm having an event. This will be my third year, where what I've learned through my research and talking to women about why they don't invest. I thought maybe it was money or risk. Mm-hmm. It turns out that they don't see other women doing it. And so I've created, if you can see it, you can be it. So we bring women on the stage where I do fireside chats with a woman that invests in hotels and a woman that invests in self-storage and a woman that invests in industrial. And I keep every time I meet a woman that invests, I'm like, you have to speak at my next conference.
Right.
And so this year we'll have over 250 women in the room. And last year at our event, of the 107 women that attended, as of today, 68 have invested.
That's amazing.
And in all different asset classes, multifamily.
Right.
So I'm not sure when this is going to air, but if it spread the word, March 8th in Orlando, Florida, which is our event, and it's only $397 for the whole day, 10 speakers. And then we do a deep dive where you can pick 2 of the speakers and go into breakout rooms where they will walk through an acquisition and underwriting, like how they picked the deal, how they underwrote the deal, how they financed the deal. And it's 90-minute breakouts, which it's just phenomenal.
That's amazing. And for me, that's, hits home because I have 2 girls and, my goal is for them to get into real estate eventually, because I think owning real estate and being an investor in real estate is the way to go. So that whatever I could do to help you in that and spread the word, I would love to help you. And we know a lot of women in the industry, and I've loved seeing all the women in the industry, increase year by year. Because when I first started, it was very minimal. So every year I see more and more women. It makes me happy because I could see a future for my daughters also in the industry. So.
Girl dad.
There you go. That's right. All the way. Well, I appreciate it. We'll put all those links in our show notes. I'm going to try to make an effort to make sure this airs before then, just to help a little boost from this side of the country for you. And
Thank you.
We'll also put some links for your books and how to watch your YouTube videos. And we really appreciate your time again.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks so much for having me. And say hello to Alessandra for me.
I will. Thank you. Just a reminder, please take the time to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. It's greatly appreciated. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hot Spotting Podcast. If any listeners have any questions or topics they would like to hear on the show, or if you simply want to connect, you can email me at mike@hotspotproperties.net. Once again, thank you for listening. It's been real.